Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I'm Adam Nicholas from WhatCulture.
And this is the news.
And today we are going to start with a big bit of news about Dean Ambrose, your friend and mine, who apparently, according to Cage Side Seats, will not be returning to WWE to wrestle in the ring on television. Because since he got beat down by Drew McIntyre, it is believed that will be the last time we're going to see Ambrose on WWE TV. He has still been working house shows and live events, but apparently that could be it for Big Bad Dean.
I'm calling bollocks on this story.
What do you mean, Adam?
This early on a Monday? Yes. Look, I've said Dean Ambrose leaving has been a work all along. All right, the argument may be the case that he was going to leave and then possibly Roman returning may have changed that decision. But I still don't believe Dean Ambrose is going to leave or go somewhere else after WrestleMania. I think it makes a lot of sense, A, to leak this story, to tell people, that's it, you're never going to see him on TV again. So when he inevitably does appear, in my opinion, probably at WrestleMania or at the very least, the Raw after WrestleMania, possibly to help out Roman mid-match against Drew McIntyre or some storyline around that. It's going to be a big old surprise because we all thought he was going to leave, but I don't think Dean Ambrose is leaving WWE. What do you think?
Is this a case of you committing to an idea early, like, shall we say, The Miz and Daniel Bryan
could
at
still
WrestleMania?
happen. Daniel Bryan has no opponent.
Daniel Bryan has no opponent at WrestleMania. Technically, I feel like you've put yourself in a box for this one, and now you have to commit. I think I'd actually quite like to see it be true, because I feel like for Ambrose, the best thing for him would be to leave the company and to maybe get a fresh start. I could totally see what you're saying though. 100%, it wouldn't surprise you. They've made a lot of being very nice with Dean Ambrose. They've never been so forthcoming with a performer. It's certainly not that I can remember in recent years. It doesn't strike me like something that they've given him a lot of time for a guy who allegedly is not coming back. That's a lot of time to give. But I suppose there's only one way to find out, and that'll be when WrestleMania comes. And me and you are sat there going, "Where's Dean Ambrose, brother? Give me the shield." No fist bump.
I would make another pasty bet, but I've got a wedding to pay for this year. I'm not betting anymore.
You're going to bankrupted by pasties at this
They
point.
say a lot of things about me on the internet, but one of them that is actually
some of them are nice.
One of the things that's actually repeatable on camera is I stick to my guns, and I'm sticking with
You
this.
do stick to his guns.
Right, next story for today involves Brock Lesnar and Daniel Cormier. Now, these are the two names who've been associated quite a lot, both in WWE and UFC. Of course, DC, heavyweight champion in the UFC, has been linked with doing commentary with WWE.
The champ.
Indeed. He is a massive WWE fan as well, and you can tell he would love to do something. And now it's being rumoured, well, thanks to what he said in an interview with ESPN, that he could be making an appearance. He's been teasing fighting Lesnar on the UFC, he's been teasing getting involved with him in WWE, and now he says, I don't have a fight exactly scheduled yet, but I've got my eyes on Brock Lesnar. I may go to the WWE's WrestleMania, corporate.
The WWE.
And I may go cost him his title over there so he can hurry up and get to the UFC so I can beat him here. Now this is not in no way guaranteed, but it's something I'd like to see.
It is something I would love to see, because what a great angle that would be. Like, you've got WrestleMania, Daniel Cormier, as you've mentioned, huge fan. If anybody's seen the video of him going mad when Seth Rollins cashed in at WrestleMania 31, the guy loves it, he's a big fan, and actually seeing him, like, how perfectly would that tie together. Like, you've got Brock Lesnar, who's been saying he wants to go back to UFC, the match, they had the little thing in the ring with Cormier. That was just, it's tailor-made, and also a bit of the company working with companies. Vince McMahon probably needs as many allies as he can get now that AEW have got their thing going on, and they're obviously trying to reach out and take over pretty much most of the independent scene. So for me, it's good business, and Vince McMahon likes good business.
Yeah, UFC and WWE seem to have a relatively good working relationship, what with allowing Brock to go and fight at UFC 200. Of course, that was a bit controversial with all that, but they tend to do stuff and say, look, I'll owe you one.
And Ronda Rousey as well.
And Ronda Rousey, exactly. Look, I think this is something that could very feasibly happen, and like you say, you've got the story of Brock, yes, he was from the UFC, but he left, and he came to DC's house after he just won the title, and he squared up to him. What's to stop DC costing him the big one at WrestleMania?
Only if Brock wears those cowboy boots to
goodness me.
WrestleMania, because those were a big look for me. Not a good look about but just a big look because they want a big dude. What are you going to do anyway? But
please don't hurt us, we are.
Please, Brock, little disclaimer, we love you, honest. All of your redness and all that. Really great.
But what on earth are those?
Speaking
You're
of
taking fashion tips from AJ Styles.
who aren't red or something. That'll do for a segue going across. WWE have been at it again. We were talking about them trying to battle AEW. Well, they've signed a couple more people. Adam Wilborn. Now they've signed Garza Jr. and Shane Strickland from the independent scenes. Two wrestlers who, I'll be honest, don't know a ton about, but I know that Garza Jr. obviously had time on the Mexican Indies, and he's also been in Impact Wrestling. So there's a lot to go on there in terms of another one who's jumped ship from a close by independent promotion, not gone to AEW, and Shane Strickland, of course, your boy.
Yes, well, I know him as Killshot in Lucha Underground. Don't know a great deal about him, but from what I've read, really exciting prospects.
Obviously in MLW, I know a lot of guys in the office, particularly Andy Murray, raved a little bit about Shane Strickland recently, so that sounds like promising stuff. Interesting that they've gone to WWE, because obviously you feel like a lot of the independent guys have been trying to
Are there any indie wrestlers?
I think we're running out of independent guys, but two more who could be joining the independent scene in a switcheroo. WWE have got two in. There will potentially be two going out, as two more have asked for their release from WWE. Now I should note these are guys from the Performance Center, nobody big on the main roster just yet, but Stacey Evans Jr., who we've seen in NXT, he's had one appearance on there, literally in like I'd say a squash match, but actually it was quite a good little tag match he was part of. He is apparently asking for his release based on the fact he's been getting a few concussions, which is not ideal, and obviously health's got to come priority. So I think he's got a background in gymnastics, so possibly a bit more physical than maybe he was hoping for. The other guy is Ricardo Miller, who hasn't been there for quite so much, and we're not exactly sure what is the driving force behind him asking for his release, but he hasn't been there very long, and obviously another guy perhaps from the Performance Center who will not be furthering his career with the company.
He could just be, exactly. He could just be looking around and thinking he's just so stacked here. I've got better opportunities going back to the independent scene or AEW.
It's a hard thing, man. It's not an easy. I think it's not an easy transition, no matter where you've come from. These guys come from various backgrounds. I know McMillan's from a footballing background. Obviously, Stacey Evans Jr. from gymnastics. They say it a lot, but there's not many people who can actually do the WWE superstar thing. It's very hard to do. It's a lifestyle that requires so much hard work, and so much commitment, and it's very physical. And if you're not prepared for that, then maybe it's not for them. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with those guys.
Best of luck in their future endeavours.
Future endeavours and all that thing. I'm sure Triple H give them a nice cuddle on the way out of the building.
Final news story to update you on for today, though, involves New Japan and Ring of Honor. They have released the full card for their G1 Supercard, which is of course happening at Madison Square Garden on Saturday night of WrestleMania weekend, the 6th of April. It is stacked. I'll run you through the whole thing.
Is it going to be as good as the Hall of Fame, though?
Ooh, let's hope so. 30-person Honor Rumble. That is going to involve, of course, Jushin Liger, Legend, and 29 others to be confirmed. You've got the never open on ROH TV titles. It's a title versus title match between Will Ospreay and Jeff Cobb. You've got Rush versus Dalton Castle. The Women of Honor title's going to be defended. There's a New York City Street Fight Open Challenge that Bully Ray has offered out.
Breathe.
New Japan Junior Heavyweight title, Ishimori versus Dragon Lee versus Bandido. We've got another title versus title match, IWGP versus ROH Tag Team titles, the Gorillas of Destiny versus PCO and Brody King versus the Briscoes versus Evil and Sonata.
You mean our best friend Tama?
Indeed. Tama Tonga, best of luck in that match.
Best of luck, Tama.
Hope when none of us here makes a run in on that. We won't. Rev Pro British Heavyweight title, that's Zack Sabre Jr., friend of the channel, my best friend, of course, taking on Tanahashi. We've got Tetsuya Naito versus Kota Ibushi for Naito's IWGP Intercontinental title. A ROH World title ladder match. Jay Lethal, the champion, taking on Marty Scurll and Matt Taven. And top of the card, as you would expect, IWGP Heavyweight title match between the champion Jay White and Kazuchika Okada even. My prediction, that's going to be a pretty good card.
It's going to be all right, isn't it? Probably
stacked.
Slightly above average. I mean, I'll be honest, that whole weekend, there's two cards that I've been looking forward to seeing how they unfold.
WrestleMania, no.
The Hall of Fame, no, but seriously, that card looks ridiculous. There was a lot of, when obviously the whole AEW thing happened, there was a lot of worry and wonder as to whether the card was still going to have the same amount of impact. Honestly, look at that, man. Like, that just tells me that the companies outside of WWE and AEW are still very much fine. Also, on top of that, the Friday before, you're going to get that stacked NXT card. And actually, thankfully, WWE were probably so intimidated by that show at MSG that they moved NXT to the Friday.
Really
because I would not want to have to choose between those two shows. They are absolutely stacked from top to bottom.
Yeah, two quality cards. And then there's probably going to be some decent quality at WrestleMania, but certainly quantity looking at that card.
18 matches?
At least.
18 matches.
Good luck if you're British watching that in Britain.
Oh, God.
No, sleep till probably about Wednesday because of Raw and SmackDown.
We're going to do a live stream for that?
No, we're going to be there, baby.
Oh,
yes,
baby.
right. Let's move on to your Twitter question today. Don't forget you can tweet them at us at WhatCulture WWE. Aditya, I hope I've got that right, says Paul Heyman. Aditya says Paul Heyman has been speaking very highly of Drew McIntyre in his promos. Do you think he'll manage Drew?
Oh, that's interesting. Are we working on the assumption that Lesnar is gone,
maybe,
and Heyman is available? I would not listen. There's lots of people on that roster. I would not be against Paul Heyman managing because he's a great manager and he can get the best out of people. I think Drew McIntyre probably doesn't need someone to talk for him because he's very good at promos.
Brutalize!
Well, there you go. I mean, in a nutshell. But yes is the answer to that question. I'd take that. I think I'll be a good pairing because I think Drew could be set for a big post-Mania because he's a big guy. And if Brock leaves, Vince likes his big guys. And Drew, I mean, let's be honest, the picture of Drew has destroyed all three members of the Shield on the build of this Mania, and he still technically isn't in a match. I know everyone's thinking it's going to be Roman, but that hasn't been confirmed as far as I'm aware. So that's a guy who's got lots of momentum and nothing happening. But in terms of Paul Heyman, yes, for me, I would take that.
And if you're going to have him face Roman and lose at WrestleMania, arguably to give him that little bit of an extra push, having Paul Heyman come in and be like, look, I can focus you now.
I mean,
I said the same thing about Nakamura last year.
It would be the perfect thing. Drew McIntyre loses to Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar loses to Seth Rollins. Lesnar leaves, Heyman's like, look, we both had losses at WrestleMania, let's come together and make it a win.
We could really build to an exciting, SummerSlam match possibly.
Love that.
Right, next question comes from Nick Brazil who says, I think Michael Sidgwick tweeted this, but how would you realistically have Rollins beat Lesnar for the Universal Champion? Sort of related to what we said earlier. He says keeping the belt on Lesnar is an acceptable answer.
Yeah, so there is always a case, and it's unpopular opinion, always a case for keeping the belt on Brock. I think
it seemed more so last week. His aura around him on Raw was incredible.
Yeah, and I think that's come because he's earned that. Because the last couple of matches he's had, he has delivered with no end. Like, you can't complain. Yes, he's not here all the time. Yes, the title isn't on TV all the time. But the match he had with Daniel Bryan, the match he had with Finn Balor, those were great matches. The one thing we have here, and that I'm really, really worried about this match, I think this match is on a knife edge for me. It's the match where Seth Rollins has to define himself as a main event player. If he doesn't deliver on this match, Rollins is, for me, and it's going to kill us to say it because I love Rollins, love Rollins, but if he can't deliver this match and people go mad about it, I think he's going to get lost in the B plus player for the rest of his days. But in terms of how he could win, listen, why not just have it be believable? When was the last time we saw a guy beat a big guy, a little guy, legitimately beat a big guy without mess on, just did it with heart, did it by being a better wrestler, by being smarter. I'd say Finn probably looked like maybe he's close, like working on Brock and just attacking him, whereas Bryan and maybe Styles took a lot of offense from Brock first. Balor was the guy who took it to Lesnar, and Lesnar squeezed out an F5 or whatever and ended up putting him away. I'd like to see Rollins just win without any interference.
I agree.
I'd like to see it done off the back of hard work and just resilience and no interference. I do think maybe Roman Reigns might be involved in some way, like because it's a nice DC, moment. Of course. There's a case for me, and Michael Hamflett's mentioned this a few times, of opening the show with this match. Because I think if they put it anywhere else, it's got a danger of landing in the match before the triple threat main event. And that honesty, I think, would kill it.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Look, I agree. I think I'd like to see Seth win it clean. I can understand if Brock retains, though. Yeah. DC getting involved, as we mentioned at the top of the show, makes a lot of sense for me. All I'd say to Seth Rollins is make sure you turn up bloody swole to WrestleMania, because that match and how that ends is going to be made. I reckon the decision's going to be made on the day.
We say it many times. The warm up backstage, Brock and Seth warm up next to each other. Vince takes one look and says, nah, keep the belt on him. Look at him, he's a monster.
Final question comes from Gordon Smith today. He tweets, Rob Gronkowski is retired from pro football.
Interesting.
What are the odds his next stop is WWE? Now, I'm not sure if Gronk has officially retired, but if let's say that is the case.
Interesting.
They bloody loved him at WrestleMania
Well,
a few years ago.
Well, I tell you what, Joe Rawley needs a tag partner.
Oh, God, is this what all these promos have been building towards?
Right. Maybe that's it. Maybe on the other side of that mirror, we're finally just going to see Gronk appear. Listen, as has been proven time and time again, athletes can make the transition, and some of them
certainly American football players
absolutely smash it. Yeah, it's perfect for them. I don't particularly care about, but because we're British, we don't really have the same investment in Gronkowski as maybe other people do. The moment at WrestleMania for that Battle Royal was cool, I guess. Maybe you could argue that was why Mojo even got a moment in the first place. Listen, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I have no real strong opinion about it either way. What about you?
He's big. He's going to WWE.
Boom.
It's going to happen, basically.
You heard it here first. Adam Wilborn has broke the news.
100%
Gronkowski
guaranteed.
has signed a pre-agreement with WWE.
He's going to win the bloody Universal title on WrestleMania, aren't they?
With a spear.
Oh, God.
I remember my friend texting me during that Battle Royal when Gronk came in and was like running through Jinder Mahal, and my mate messaged from England while I was there saying, does Gronkowski know it's not real?
Yeah, he did take it.
He's like, he absolutely murdered him.
Remember that woman security guard who nearly had a fight with him because she didn't realise it was Gronk either? It was meant to be up there, let it happen. Right, let's move on to today's and finally, and I want to show you this, a fantastic fan-made Avengers Endgame inspired poster ahead of WrestleMania, of course. A big fan of this, especially with Brock as Thanos, which is the most Thanos thing ever. That is
definitely the most Thanos thing ever. And also, not just before WrestleMania, and before the biggest cinematic event in ever.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. So it's a nice little tie in there for both. I mean, I'm excited to see WrestleMania, and this poster is really well done. Do you know who's done it? Did you bother to take down the note? I tell you what, I'll be editing this video, so I'll make sure whoever it is gets the plug. Because people work hard on these things.
And now I've got my phone on airplane mode, so I can't show it you.
There you go.
Whoopsie.
Well,
Hang
okay.
on.
Don't worry about it. Hey, listen, I'll find it.
The internet connection appears to be offline.
I'll do the hard work, so he doesn't have to. How about that?
But it is not my favourite Avengers Endgame.
No, I've heard rumours. There's a better one kicking around.
Made by our very own Osley BT. Check out this, including our very own Simon Gallagher wearing a colander on his head.
Because I remember
as Thanos.
Thanos did that, didn't he? Colander?
Darth Coulson. I knew I'd get his name eventually.
There you go.
Who made the WrestleMania inspired one. But let us know your thoughts on that and all of today's news stories in the comment section below. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And you can tweet Twitter questions to us at WhatCultureWE. Whilst you're there, follow both of us. You can follow him at
It's Adam Nicholas.
You can follow me at Adam Wilborn. As I said, you can follow us all at WhatCultureWE. My thanks to Adam Nicholas. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.
Bye-bye.